Are you tired of going home every Friday wondering if anybody actually worked this week? Today, we are going to discuss that on the Founders Table. I'm Drew, and this is Stefan, and today we are talking about the 80-20 rule.
The 80-20 rule. I'm excited to talk about this. This has been a point of conversation for us for a bit now of how to really focus on what matters the most. The 80-20 rule really talks about how most of the things that we accomplish happen in the 20%. And then as an agent, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, 80% of the stuff we do is pretty much pointless. So how do we focus in on the right items?
Yep. We do a lot of different exercises with this, and this is something that we really coach hard on because at the end of the day, it's flat out the truth. You can't disguise it. You can't hide it. And if you're in the 80-20 range, there's improvement. That's the good news, right? There's always improvement, and growing that 20 and getting it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's what we do, and that's what we try to help with our clients with and things like that. So if you're watching today, this is an awesome conversation for that. So Stefan, when you talk about the 80-20 rule, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Man, one of my struggles is, say it's a Tuesday morning, I'm trying to get things rolling. I find myself in my inbox. I'm scrolling through emails, reading through all these pointless emails, not actually accomplishing anything. But by the time you know it, it's 10 o'clock.
Yep.
And you have just literally accomplished nothing by scrolling through all these emails. You feel like you're doing something, but at the end of the day, in the back of your head, you know you're not doing anything.
Absolutely.
And as a business owner, that's a real problem. But the crazier part is when you come into the office and you see that happening on a larger scale.
Yeah, when you watch employees do that, it makes my gut just, it's infuriating.
Man, we are so good, which it's kind of crazy to me because a lot of us are in businesses to where if we don't produce, then we don't get paid.
That's right.
And it's crazy that we are so good at wasting time. Mm-hmm. And it's natural for us to waste time.
Yep.
And it's easy to do between conversations at the office, making calls with people, letting them last longer than that aren't really turning into appointments. I mean, there's so many opportunities for us to really scale back what we are doing in order to make it more productive. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yep. I like it. I think, the thing is you have people that they're always going to play in that 80 range, and those might not be long time people, and
they might be great employees for other businesses.
Yeah. You can, you'd be a great employee over there. Yeah. And I think that happens. And I think that's part of the game. But on the same token, you gotta learn how to coach people and get them in their lane and get them pointed in the right direction. And there's just so many different ways to do that. And today's the day that you just get on Facebook, and the next thing you know, you look up and it's 45 minutes later, and these people do it every day. And I mean, don't tell me you've never done it. I've always
here's
done
the
it.
hard thing is that we're trying to figure out what our social presence should look like, things like that. We're trying to learn it, and there's a lot of great resources out there. But man, there are so many opportunities to just keep scrolling instead of actually applying.
We did an exercise with our team a week or two ago, and it was positive, neutral, negative, right? Yes. And at the end of the day, every time if you can identify a project or whatever you're working on right now, what are you doing right now that matters? Mm-hmm. Right now, is it positive? Is it neutral? Or is it negative?
Yeah, positive is income producing activity. That's literally the definition.
Yep.
If it is moving toward income producing, then it is a positive. Even if it's a long-term play, like truly, if it is something that you are looking at your schedule saying, this is going to provide me income at some point, then it's 100%.
Yep. So when you look at the neutral part of that, that's where the gray is, and that's where there's so many opportunities. It's where time wasters go to die, and it's where productive people become the top 1%.
Yeah, if you push that neutral into positive, it's game over. You're going to conferences, you're going to lunches for networking, and that's an easy one for you to mail it in and say, hey, I'm not going to really connect with anybody. I'm just going to go here. It's on my calendar. It says networking. That's great. That's a good opportunity to get out there. But if you're not actually networking, then it's a negative.
It's a negative at best.
And if you are utilizing those neutrals to create a positive, then that's huge.
So we're part of the Chamber of Commerce in our town, and we went to a meeting, and one of the exercises was grab a card. You put a card in, grab a card out, and then call the person to make a connection, right? Mm-hmm. So one of our agents, what was the story? What did she say? The lady?
She was for a marketing company, she was a marketing person for a company that we work with.
Yeah. It was a realtor grabbed the card, called this person,
Yep.
and she was the promotions and marketing director for the company, and they target real estate agents to do stuff. And like, she didn't want to have it. Like, he offered to go have a coffee or something, and they didn't want to. She didn't want any part of it. And it's like, why did you show up? You know, it's like, if you're gonna, like, there couldn't have been a better link to a hit to do that. So as an owner, I'm looking at it going like, I'd never let that employee go back for anything, you know, and I'm sure the owner doesn't know that happened. But at the end of the day, like, we know our employees do that when we're not watching, not necessarily intentionally or maliciously sometimes, but they just do it. And, you know, I think that's where the exercise, the positive, neutral, negative comes out. And it's a great conversation piece with all your staff, because this is how we judge whether it's good. And then you can put the boundaries around it. It's a positive conversation if that's a plus. Neutrals are these. Negatives are these. And then you can easily ask people without being a jerk, hey, was that a positive, negative, or neutral? Like, oh, I'm doing a negative again. I've been on the phone with Bob, the vendor, for 4 hours. I couldn't get him off, you know, and you can make it lighthearted from that standpoint. And, you know, I think one of the things that I see is people dwell. Like, I think people dwelling on certain situations, that is one of the most dangerous areas to be on, that you get so tunnel vision on whatever it is.
You have a hard call coming up and you're just sitting thinking about it instead of actually going out and producing more business. And you're exactly right. I think also, as leaders of businesses, for us, is like, we're building some other businesses along with this. And it's really hard to not waste time with, like you said, other vendors, or really differentiate some of the meetings that we go to, some of the things that we
seeing a man about a horse.
So I think it's a hard conversation. It's a hard thing to really hone in on, but it is where successful people go.
You know, I think with the 80-20 rule, we could talk business all day, and I think everybody has life examples of that through here, you know. But I think when you kind of spin that and say, all right, Stefan, let's look at family relationships, religion, business. How skewed is that?
Oh, dude. When you go home after a busy day at work and you have 3 boys, I've got a daughter, it's easy to mail it in. It's easy with our spouses, with our kids, to mail it in. And that's part of that space. And it's like, if you look at it, was this a positive, negative, or neutral space? I mean, I think with our kids, it's either positive or negative. I don't even think there's a middle ground. and it's so important for us to be engaged in those moments just as much as it is at work, for our lives as well, for our faith. I mean, to be connected, to be focused in, to be all in. This applies to every single aspect of life. And I think outside of business owners, outside of people in sales, I think when you start to have the conversation outside of work, there's probably a very small percentage of people that actually do that well.
With intentionality. I mean, even just people that are talking about it, but more than the, I need to be better, or I need to do this, honey, or I need to do that, or, you know, whatever that is. And I mean, I think awareness is probably one of those first steps on that end. I mean, I've got this from my wife before, where she's like, I wish you'd treat me like as good as you try to treat your employees. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you do. You work so hard.
How many times do we, like, we're at home in a hard conversation or just being a little negative, and the phone rings, it's a client or something, and our tone changes immediately? I hate that about myself, because I do that. And I need to work on that for sure. But that's a real thing. It's like, why can't I
and it's not fair.
correlate this?
Yeah, it's not fair. And I mean, I owning businesses and going, you know, you just can't, as much movement as I've had in my life with different stuff, positive and negative, there's a reason that a lot of entrepreneurs have divorces and multiple wives or multiple spouses, things like that. And, dude, I was there. I mean, I was as close as you can get to getting a divorce without getting a divorce. And I'm so thankful we didn't, you know, and it was one of the big shifts in my life that's a job. This is my life. And it was an eye-opening experience to me. And I'm glad that I fell on the side that we did, and we made things work. We did everything that we did. And now it's a perspective change. And I know working with younger people and different businesses and things like that, you know, it's so, dude, it's a drug, man. Like, it is so powerful. Success and, well, I gotta get honey, you want to drive that truck, then you got to get this, or then we got to do that. And then that causes this, and then this to that to that. And it's like really stepping back and saying what matters, my 3 kids, and something you said a second ago, I got 3 kids and it is a disaster at my house. Like it's wild. I mean, I'm an only child. So like kids fighting and it's just da, 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 all day long. Positive or negative. Every conversation you have is either a positive conversation or a negative conversation, right? Yeah. And it's like it's so easy to chase them around saying, no, stop, that. And you're just beating them down with negativity. And I'm not saying discipline or anything, you know what I mean? Like I'm not getting into that, but like just the tones that you speak to your children. And I find myself kind of like waking up's not the right word, but it like cognitively like thinking like what am I doing the right decision? Me saying this to my kid, is this a positive or a negative? And I think that's a big thing that we've got to look through. And again, how you raise a child, the 80-20 rule from that standpoint, 80% of the time spent, is it really even good and quality time spent? And I think that's something that, because I mean, you get bounced into all the different stuff that you do, but it's like, did you actually get to spend one-on-one time? Did you get to have good conversations? Did you get to read the Bible with them? Did you get to do this? Did you get to do that? Did you, I think just being aware of that is the first step to progress.
That's a conversation we're going to have at some point, like in a larger scale. Cause I'm with you in our business and every business. Negativity is everywhere. And so if we can speak life into our kids and have that as an intentionality, it's huge. I think one thing that's been cool about this business and starting this with you is that from the day one with our families, we have said that this has got to be family first. Like from having kids in the office with us, you were going from different events, private jets, never seen your family, to now you're full on dad. You're crushing it. And through that, I mean, that's been one of the coolest privileges. And I think the cool thing is I think it helps us find the right clients too. Yeah. The people that see that, see the difference, that want to work with people who are focused like that. I mean, that makes as big of a difference as anything. So, so the 80-20 rule really, it's in every aspect of it's health. You and I are having those conversations, and we're in the 80% side right now.
Yes, that's a fact.
But we're growing in it. But I think that's the key though, is everything has opportunity for growth.
So let's talk. We've got a few more minutes left. You're very intentional in your marriage about going on dates, things like that. Talk about the spouse side and 80-20, and like maybe if you want to break it down to positive, neutral, negatives, that's fine. But like speak on that.
Yeah, I think, in our business, our minds are moving 100 miles an hour. Like there's a lot of decisions being made. There's a lot of pressures. There's a lot of thoughts. And like I said earlier, it's easy to go home and try to, and you need your time to relax, time to just get your mind in the right place. But I think it's finding and talking to your spouse and talking to your family about how, for me, my wife is that for me. Yeah. Like when I'm overwhelmed, my wife is the person that I'm going to and talking. Like she knows everything, right? And I think so often I don't know if we hide it from our spouse, but we just separate it from it. And in our marriage, like we're one. And so what we're carrying, they're carrying, what they're carrying, we're carrying. And I think that for us, I mean, we've got to just be intentional about communication. And when there's opportunity for maybe, Emery's down to bed and there's a show on TV or something, instead of utilizing that time all the time, which I think is fine. Like if you guys, we watch Netflix and all this stuff, but if you utilize some of that time for really connecting, not to be cheesy, but just really to connect on how was your day, walking through what you're feeling, where are we at as a couple, as a family, our goals. Like we talk through vision and value all the time for our business. And we're doing the same thing as a family.
That's cool. That's very cool.
What's the vision for where we are, who we are, and the values of what we stand for? And so I think it's just being intentional. Not that anybody's perfect at it. Holy cow, no. But it's a game changer. So utilizing those same thoughts.
You've got like you guys fill that. You guys literally go to the point of like filling stuff out about yearly goals, things like that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we'll talk through it.
Blew my mind when we're in a small group together for our church, and he's like, "Oh, we've got a date this week. We're going to go over our monthly, yearly, whatever values and goals and da da da." And I was like, "What?"
Every October, we have three dates. We have an initial one in October where we think through some of the values. We always hit our vision values, but then we think through our goals for the next year, and we make a word for the next year. And then November, we have another where we kind of hone it in. We write some stuff down, but we let it sit for a while. We don't want to just make a decision.
You kind of throw Jello on the wall, see what sticks, and then come circle
100%.
back.
Because
that's cool.
And our lives are moving a lot. Last year we didn't know if we would have foster kids. We didn't know if we would have our own kids. We didn't know.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna have
if we would have additional ones. We didn't know before we launched this in November. So last October, we didn't really even have this solidified. Yeah. Elevate. What
do we? Do we?
Solidified is a strong word. But there's a lot of unknowns. And I think that we all kind of go to that, For you, it's like, what sport's Beckett going to be in?
Dude, it's juggling. And you always hear about it. And like now that Rhett, our middle child, is old enough to get into the sports thing where, it truly, what hurts, I don't know if that's the right word, but I was driving the other day and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to get to see my wife for, I don't even know, like till football season's over, because it's like, it's always, and now with 2 kids in football, it's like one's over here, one's over there. Yeah. Like who's doing what, and. For sure. And Rhett's
in school, like kindergarten this year. So all of those items, you kind of work through them, and your year is constantly changing. So from year to year, what are we growing in? What are our goals? Like we have a certain amount of books we want to read. We have a certain amount of time that we want to spend in community. Like some of these things are non-negotiables. A certain amount of time with family, like certain goals that we have for vacations. And we just work through all those to where we can have a good game plan. Not that we hit all those goals. We don't.
Got to aim.
You got to. Yeah, you have to have a place where you go. And it helps to ground you. Like when life gets crazy, you go back to the basics.
I think something else that's really powerful is, I know with my wife, just in general, and it's both men and women, I think one of the big fights is you don't hear me. Not what I'm saying, but you really don't hear me. Yeah. And I think if you talk about your visions and your goals and what you're reading and what this is and what that is, like, I know, especially speaking to the men, we're not the most observant sometimes in life. Yes. And I think that's one of those things that, like, there's no taking that back. Like when she says, these are 3 or 4 of my goals, it's written there. It's right there on paper. Like, now you don't have an excuse not to, right? And, absolutely. And not being mean or sexist or anything like that, but like, I may say, I want to go fish 25 bass tournaments this year. Here's the series. Here's the schedule. Here's what I want to do. Good luck, bye. Mm-hmm. Well, Brittany says, well, I want to go to a winery. Well, mine's on a schedule. Yours isn't. Well, and then all of a sudden, like a year goes by and you went fishing 25 tournaments and she never got a break from the kids and did a winery, and you wonder why she's frustrated at you, right? Exactly. And I mean, I think that's one of those things that, like, this is such a powerful tool in the toolbox in a marriage, that I think that it eliminates, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, whether it's your Christian walk, any of that. There's definitely some like 101 things that if you just do this, like all of a sudden, like you're in the top half of success. Yeah. And if you do that, now you're in the top 70 percentile. And I think as I've aged and developed, it's just little hacks here and there that I think make people more successful or less successful based on what they do. And I'm not saying success monetary. I'm just saying a good relationship, happy kids, the whole situation, and controlling what you can control, being present, being there. And I think that's a lot of what this podcast is about, is like helping with some of those things. So
yeah, I'm going to throw one more thing in there. One thought I had was, how much did we spend on like the brand identity for Elevate, right? Yeah. When we were building a company, we spent a lot of money, not only for a logo, but we wanted to present and communicate what we're about through talking points, through taglines, through logos, through style, all those things. And if we would, like, this company
time too, a lot of time.
Yeah. And this company is important to us. but our families are 10x important. Like it's exponential how much more our families are important to us. And so my question always is like, man, if I'm willing to invest that into a company, man, how much more should we invest it into our family, you know? So, so we'll have some more conversations about that for sure, but it's good. It's good thoughts.
Yep. I want you to find that, build that sheet that you guys fill out.
Yeah.
And that if we can, let's try to get that posted into here. Cause I think that's a really important.
Very good.
Yeah. I think that's really important. I need to do it.
Yeah. And it's good. One of the things that I like about it is it's got the wheel of momentum. You ever heard of that?
Yeah. I've seen your wheel of momentum.
You get your main goal that might be a big goal. And you've got to have stepping stone goals to get there. And so you build 7 or 8 like small tangible things that you can check off of a list.
Yep.
And it's crazy as you start making some of those small goals a reality. Like it's crazy how quickly the main thing comes to life. So it's cool.
I've got a handful of friends. And like, this has never been a conversation with any of them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not one person I know out of all my friends that we've done stuff with is like, I'm going to go work on the Wheel of Fortune with my wife and the this and the that.
The wheel of momentum.
The wheel of momentum. But like, I laugh, but I'm poking. But for real though, like, if that was a conversation you had, and like, again, this goes back to our conversation here. You know what I mean? In the name of our podcast. And that's what this is all about. If you have this conversation with your wife, that's awesome. Like that's definitely there. But tell your best friend or your friend's friend or your guys group chain text. Like it's not dumb. You know what I mean? Like what's dumb is going through a divorce and losing a bunch of money and time and losing time with your kids and all the other stuff, you know, and everybody knows people that have been through that, you know, and you may have been through that. And what if this one thing impacted somebody's life and it changed an outcome like that, you know, and this could, like, that's one of those things that are like an easy life hack, that if you did this, imagine how much happier your spouse could be or would be just by understanding, and how much happier you are when you at least understand what she's trying to say. Dude. And I'm not a mind reader, honey. I just need you to tell me what you want. Right.
And you go to a house that the mood has changed and the whole vibe is different.
Yep.
Like it's a game changer.
And I think that becomes the wheel of momentum. I know when I changed how I operated, I'm definitely not as organized as you, but when I changed how I operated, once we sold some businesses and got some pressure off of us and I started being a dad and a husband, it all started spiraling the right direction. Normally it all goes down, and it completely shifted everything in our life.
I can tell too. It's cool. It's cool to watch. It's cool to be a part of. So yeah, man, I think for this podcast, really, the goal is it kind of started off with ideas of training our team on being entrepreneurs, being agents. But the goal is long term is that really it's for people that want to build legacy, want to build businesses that grow beyond themselves. And as we do that, man, these are the kind of conversations that change the trajectory of your life, you know. And so I'm excited about this process for sure.
Wrap this sucker up, Stefan.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Stefan and Drew, the Founders Table. We're going to have some really good guests. We're going to have some good conversations. If you have some ideas of thoughts and questions that you might have, dude, shoot them to us. Let's talk about it. We'll get coffee with you. We'll talk through it. We'll build some resources. I'll send that resource that me and my wife work out as well, and love to have those kind of conversations. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.